Hi, and welcome to the Connect FCS Ed podcast workshop, podcasting, telling stories in sound. I am your host, Barbara Scully. In today's presentation, I will be discussing the importance to any digital content creators analytics and how it impacts your reach and impression with your audience. So our outcomes, we'll be going over the history and about Connect FCS Ed, understanding analytics to gain influence, how to professionally edit audio using Audacity, best practices for podcast planning, and fifth and finally, professional organizations. Starting off with our history. During my master's program, I developed and hosted the first ever FCS teachers podcast called Connect FCS Ed. This allows me to connect, communicate, collaborate, inspire, and be inspired by many of our educational professionals and people from our industry. This project has been a passion of mine since its implementation starting back in February of 2020. To then the initial launch of May 4th, 2020, August 18th, 2020, being that I completed my master's degree and shared my culminating project. To June 23rd, 2021, being the season 1 closing, to then season 2 relaunch, August 18th of 2021. And I continue to find new ways to grow and promote my field through this medium. In this effort, I maintain its entire digital footprint, starting with the main website and the most impactful social media platforms for my audience, being that there's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And I've hosted over 70 podcast episodes that can be found on iTunes, Google, Stitcher, and Spotify, with some of the most highly educated and most experienced individuals in the FCS profession, to an audience of over 10,000 subscribers. I invite you to tune in. Top 10 episodes. So the Connect FCS Ed genre consists of education, promotion, and recruitment. It was first launched in May of 2020, and it has an episodic release, which means it is released weekly at 6 a.m. Downloads to date are 9,499, with the average downloads per new release consist of 90. My listener base are educators who want to implement new methods of teaching and learning, educators who want relevant content and engaging speakers who understand family and consumer sciences, along with educators who want a community and stories of perseverance. So the image that you're seeing is a screenshot from my analytics dashboard. So these are the top 10 episodes, and they are all in completely different order that you would normally see on possibly a podcast outline. But these are the episodes that my listeners have found to be the most engaging for them. And this information changes weekly, sometimes by the hour, or by the day. And this all consists of what listeners are listening to. So as of right now, it's really a close tie, but on episode 16, online teaching tips, and episode 36 of Lauren Quint of CTE and Family Consumer Sciences, Teachers Pay Teachers, it's a really close neck and neck. And then up and coming, third top favorite is the book study of The Secret History of Home Economics with Danielle Dreilinger. So all of this information changes. And me as the podcast host, I take this information and I think about, okay, what are listeners wanting to listen to? What are they needing right now? And I'm able to take this snapshot and start thinking about other episodes that I can start researching and start recruiting for as an interview with other individuals within the FCS community. My mission is to better support all educators sharing strategies and resources for transforming teaching and creating unforgettable learning experiences in the classroom. Leading student success with FCS. So now we're going to dive into understanding analytics. This is what a podcast host is constantly looking at and understanding. So first off are the RSS feeds. You might be wondering, what is an RSS feed? Well, an RSS feed is a formatted text document that contains all of the important information about a show. It's hosted on a server and it usually has a public URL link so anyone can view or access its content. It contains all of the information about a podcast and the episodes, including the show's title, the description, the episode's titles, links to the audio files for the episodes, and more. So the next question would be, why do you need an RSS feed for a podcast? Well, the RSS feed provides a way for anyone to subscribe to the show or stream or download any episodes, either through website or their podcast app of choice. Without an RSS feed, you'll only have a blog post or audio files with no way for people to subscribe to or automatically get new episodes unless they visit a website or get a direct download link from you via email or a social media message. Your show's RSS feeds is what podcast apps and directories like Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and so on will use to automatically get new episodes that you publish and display on their apps or websites, and also pass them along to anyone who has subscribed to your show. Your listeners can also bypass the podcast directories and subscribe to your show's RSS feed using any compatible podcast player app that they'd like to use. Since RSS is an established standard, there are many apps that can subscribe to and download and display information from an RSS feed. Dashboards and platforms. So as you can see, this is a perfect mind map of how Simplecast, which is my podcast dashboard, how it spider webs out and it connects to my website, the Connect FCS Ed host or domain. So they are connected, Simplecast and my website, and it spider webs out to Stitcher, Overcast, Spotify, Google, Apple, iTunes. And just recently I've been launched onto Pandora and Amazon Music. It also spider webs out to all Google or Facebook or any of those other social media channels. And finally, SpeakerPost. I am now uploaded on SpeakerPost, and that is how conferences can reach out to specific workshop or keynote speakers to be able to talk about their content depending on what the conference or workshop is needing. But all of this information, it all stems to my dashboard. You might have heard of Anchor. Anchor is probably the #1 podcast distribution, only because of how simple it is to upload to, which it is. But for me, I'm wanting more information on my listeners, so that way I can provide more engaging content. So here is the most favorite time of day per download. So this is a snapshot of my dashboard. So as you can see, 7 a.m. is the preferred time for downloads. And this is current information that I was able to pull off my dashboard as of today. This information changes because it depends on who's listening. So on this episode, I had about 32 downloads for this one day. And this is probably on average. I think I pulled this data from the Simplecast dashboard roughly about 10 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Typically, on average, I have about 90 downloads per episode, per new release episode, and that tracks that data for the entire week. So this is pretty consistent of day one launch, and then throughout the week, listeners are downloading, which then increases that download for the entire week. Here you have my worldview FCS podcast demographics, the analytics. So, and this information, this screenshot is fascinating to me. So largely my demographics consist of 24 to 94-year-old affluent educated professionals. Their favorite time of day for downloading is 7 a.m. These are professionals who are often listening on their way to or from work, lunch, and or on weekends. The average unique listeners per week consists of 90. And when I say unique, that is a vocabulary word for the podcast industry. So that just means where the URL IEP snapshot for that person's computer has not been recorded yet. Meaning they're a brand new listener. They just discovered the podcast. And so that their IEP address is being snatched and recorded. So I have a lot of brand new listeners who are finding the podcast all of the time. So, and I find that to be fascinating. And plus it's consistent with my downloads. And now with my unique listeners. So, and this changes weekly. Also, the use of social media is more than the standard US population. So 64% of my social media these are individuals who use social media several times a day. And 48% of them follow brands versus 31% of social media users. So these are individuals who are disproportionately interested in creative endeavors, entrepreneurship, and self-improvement. So here with this screenshot, what I find fascinating is that, yes, the United States primarily holds the highest percentage throughout the world. But all of these other places, these are individuals or organizations or groups of people who are actually part of the International Federation of Home Economics. So the Federal Republic of Germany, the Commonwealth of Africa, the Commonwealth of Australia, South Africa, these are all places that have individuals who are part of the International Federation of Home Economics. So I find that to be interesting. So on the screen as well, you have my Facebook reach and my Instagram reach. And this consists of posts, comments, and reactions as of September of 2021. So as you can see, my Facebook reach is a lot higher than my Instagram. Facebook consists of 7,819 versus Instagram of 2,811. And that is because I am not fluent in Instagram. I'm thankful to have two teenage daughters who do understand what reels are and how Instagram works. But for the most part, I'm pretty fluent in Facebook and where I'm able to engage with my audience that way and promote more easily. But again, it's just another area of where I am learning and growing and adapting to meet the needs of my listeners. Here we have trackings of hashtags across Twitter to find the following numbers about my audience's influence. So February of 2021, my tweet impressions was 5,094, and then it grew considerably to May of 2021 of 5,940. And then I slide back to 4,988 in August of 2021. And that's because I went on a summer break. I stopped promoting, I stopped talking to others on Facebook and Twitter. I quit engaging. I needed that break, and that's where my slide fell back. And hashtags and commenting and constantly promoting on Twitter is so important to keep members engaged with you. If you don't produce content, you fall out. Now, listener behavior and trends. So social media branding used most often from the 2021 Infinite Dial report. So the Infinite Dial is the longest running survey of digital media consumers' behaviors in America. The Infinite Dial tracks mobile behaviors, internet, audio, podcasting, social media, smart speakers, and more. So understanding the Infinite Dial analytics in my audience's demographics of the Connect FCS Ed, social media average audiences over the age of 35 years old, and they use Facebook more than any other social media platform. So according to a 2018 study by Nielsen, 94% of podcast listeners are active on every social media channel. That's 13% more than the entire population. US weekly podcast listeners averaged 5.1 podcast shows in the last week. Are you one of those? Do you listen to podcasts regularly? Throughout my learning and research, the Infinite Dial indicates that while most social media platforms exhibit modest or no growth, TikTok surged, especially among the 12 to 34-year-olds. For the first time in the Infinite Dial's history, Facebook is no longer indicated by the most used platform by a majority of social media users. Driven mainly by 12 to 34-year-olds, their preferences for Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat, which is another reason why I'm trying to understand the algorithm of Instagram more. So as you can see, even though my genre of demographics consists of ages 35 to 54, so that's 60% if my listeners, they engage with me via Facebook or they're able to download and they hear things off of Facebook, versus age 55 being 70% and more. So just being able to understand my listener behavior is super important. So you should consider yourself, like, where do you fall on this category? Do you get your content mostly from TikTok or Snapchat, Twitter? These are all areas that are up and coming. Software. So we're going to be moving into the technical side of being able to understand how podcasts work. So first of all, I use Audacity. So there you could also have a paid subscription using Adobe Audition, but I like free. I don't know about you. I spend a lot of money in other ways for this podcast. So being able to have Audacity being a free platform, I will take it any day. Then there is also Convertio, which I found just surfing the web one day, and it's a software where I can convert my Zoom recordings. So if I wasn't able to save it as a MP3 file, because normally it comes out as a MP4 or a WAV, I have to convert it to an MP3, and I was able to find that Convertio is a great free web-based app or software that I can use. My microphone is a Rode NT USB versatile studio quality USB cardioid condenser microphone. It's black, if you know. And this picture of it is exactly what I have. It's roughly around $160. So if you find yourself looking at microphones, they run the gamut of expenses, but you could get any really good microphone under $200. So my microphone was roughly around 160, but 200, 250, I think you are looking at a really good microphone. Then finally, we have Calendly and Zoom. So these are the computer with video conferencing capabilities. I know you could use Google Meets and everything, but for me, I use Zoom. So Zoom and Calendly. So here's a pro tip, because if you can learn from my mistakes, you are going to be far much better off going down your podcast education is probably the best way. So I learned Zoom. When recording, you do not need to have your Audacity app or software open and recording as well. It actually it blocks out both sounds, and you end up with really bad audio content when you're interviewing. So Audacity is used only for when you're doing your solo performances. Zoom is when you're doing your interviews. So learn from my mistakes. Don't have them both open thinking like, oh, Zoom, I need it for just to be able to interact with my guest, versus using Audacity for the recording. No, record within Zoom. It's going to turn out great. Calendly, this is another great app that I use. So it's a free online scheduler that you can sync to your email and embed into both yours and your guest's calendar, which shares your video conference link with your guest. I love this tool. So now I'm going to take a minute and I am going to pull up Audacity for you and show you a little bit how it works. All right, so now I have Audacity open. So again, I had to go and download this free software and save it to my desktop or my thumb drive, wherever you want to be saving it. So right now I'm going to go to File and I'm going to say Import, and I'm going to select Audio. So I already have certain stuff. So I'm going to go into my assets and I'm going to go into season 2, and I'm going to select Leslie Robb. Now let's see, when I've recorded this a couple of times and I didn't like how it turned out. So I've been revamping it, and I have already gone in and converted my the audio from Leslie Robb, but I do want you to notice, so for audio only, this was the original, and this was when I converted it, when I was able to extract just the audio from Zoom, and it turns into a M4A file. Well, this is not compatible to go embed into Audacity. I had to take it and upload it to Convertio, and I will share that with you really quick. Actually, I'm going to hit cancel, drop down. And so here is Convertio. So this is the app that or the web app that I use. So I'm going to say convert more files, and I'll just take you through the motions like I'm doing it. So I'm going to select choose file, and here I will select my M4A, select open, and then I will say convert. Oh, here we go, convert. And here's where I could choose MP3, wave. There's all these different ways of converting it. I would select MP3, but I've already done this, so I'm not going to do this over again, but I would select convert, and then it would go through the uploading process. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to say import audio. I already have it. Let me go here. Now I'm going to select Leslie Robb. This is the converted audio. So as you can see, the format is that MP3 file. I'm going to select. All right. So now you have my audio, and let's see if I could pull it up.
Connect FCS Ed. Thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode, I have an.
All right, so now this is my audio. What I'm also going to do, I'm going to import my assets of my my intro. So I'm going to go back to season. Oh, no, it's up one more. My season 2 intro. So this is my final season 2 intro. I'm going to open. And I'm going to move it up. So this is my intro. And here I'm just going to select, and I'm going to mute that. All right.
Welcome to season 2 of the Connect FCS Ed podcast. Each episode is geared towards recruiting, supporting, and retaining past, current, and future professional, family, and consumer sciences educators. I am your host, Barbara Scully, and I want to boldly celebrate families and careers with you.
Perfect. So now I'm going to select pause, and I'm going to unmute. So what I'm now going to do, I'm going to introduce you to some tools. So this is that selection tool. This is where I'm able to drop, and I'm able to say play or stop at any point. The scissors, that's the delete button. Here is a copy button. And this could also be the paste or the clipboard, saving information. This button is your time shift tool. And this is really important because I'm able to move my sound down or up. So what I am now going to do, I'm going to select, and I'm going to say move track to top. So what just happened? Now I am going to use my time shift tool. Oh, I'm going to stop. Now I'm going to use my time shift tool, and I'm able to move my sound from my actual full-on interview down. So that way I have my intro. So now I'm going to go over, I'm going to zoom in and then drag this over. All right, so now because we've zoomed in, you can also see there's going to be a huge lag time of when my music stopped and then leading into my intro. with my guest. So I will use my icon and I'm just going to kind of let you listen.
Hi, welcome back to the Connect FCS and thank you.
So for me, a really good rule of thumb is about 4 seconds of lag time before I pick up from when the music ended to when my voice begins. So what I'm going to end up doing here, I'm going to select my time shift tool. I'm going to hit stop. And I'm actually going to drag this over a little bit. So now you tell me, what do you think now?
Yep. Hi, welcome back to the Connect FCS and thank you.
So as you can see, it's a lot clearer. There's not that dead space, and that's really important. So now we're going to go into, this is now a podcast editors. This is the nightmare that we go through, but also this is where for you, the audience, you get really good content. So what ends up happening, I'm going to zoom in because I don't know if you noticed, I noticed only because my ear is now more adept to hearing things, but I hate hearing the sound of my breath. So right now I am isolating this little wavelength and I want you to listen. So you hear me taking a deep breath as I get ready to welcome you, my audience, to the podcast. So I hate that. I'm deleting it. And now we are just kind of going to go through the process of seeing if we notice any other areas of where you hear me taking that breath. So I'm looking. This could be where I am making a breath. So let's listen. Yes, it is. So you hear that again, that me taking that big breath of fresh air, because I don't know about you, I often forget to take a breath sometimes. So I'm deleting it. So, and we'll just kind of continue. Oh, and now you see a bunch of these gaps. So we are going to go through and we're going to take out some of these gaps. That's a little bit too much there, and just kind of close things up. So it's not so long. Now let's see, what is this sound? Is this me taking another breath? No, that's now making the sound. So I'll get rid of that. That's not necessary. Let's hear this. Yep, that's another breath. So as you can see, I kind of have the eye and the ear where I now can visually see what my wavelength looks like without even hearing it. So I'm going to close up that gap. And we're just going to continue going down. And we're only at 40 seconds in versus 32 minutes. So here is another breath, more than likely. Yep, another short breath. Let's see, this might be a breath. Let's hear it. Nope, that's another sound. Let's see what's going on here. Just noise. So this is a really tedious and painful process. Honestly, when I've had interviews that have been like an hour and a half, oh my gosh, no joke. I'm not even exaggerating when it comes to this. I've sat at the computer for 5 hours just editing and rearranging the format of the interview and how it goes. Am I being tedious when it comes to that? Absolutely. But I also want it to be the best episode that it can be, because I sometimes go off on tangents or and for me, I'm making connections in other ways with other areas of my life, possibly, or areas of connections that I've made in the classroom where I'm able to have better understanding. And sometimes that helps the audience in listening and understanding, but most of the time I find it's not very helpful. So I go in and I try to clear out all of that. So this is really a tedious process. So don't think like, oh, all you have to do is just take your audio and extract it and then upload it and get it launched. No, there's so much more that goes into detail than this. And this is the easy part. There are a lot of steps that goes into making a podcast. So I have uploaded I have imported our, what is it? The intro music. And now we're going to we're going to import file, import my closing. So here I have my final close. There we go. So here's my intro, and automatically it puts because I've uploaded it a certain way, it automatically has my closing at the bottom, which is good. So when converting everything, it brings everything together. So in this, what we're going to end up doing, we're going to select time shift tool, and we are going to move the closing all the way down. Here we go. Now I'm going to zoom in. And I have a lot of editing that I have to do in this episode, just taking out, breaks, silences, breaths, or any other unnecessary chatter. For this season, I'm really trying hard to decrease my time. So having our interviews be that 30 or 40-minute mark at most, and my solos being around that 15 to 20-minute time length. So here I have my time shift tool and I'm moving it. And you might be wondering, why are you moving it? Here you have all this music in this trail. Yeah, well, I like that to be kind of the signature of, hey, the music is coming on, and which signifies to you, my listener, that we're wrapping it up. So I'm going to hit my eye for my icon, and I am going to pinpoint it, drop it there, and we're going to listen.
Because I swear, my whole message is, we're better together. So
it's true, and that's exactly how it should be.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and we will be in touch soon. Feel free to reach out anytime.
Thanks, girl.
Barbara Scully from the Connect FCS Ed podcast presents a fresh take.
So there you have it. I do know that I'm going to have to go in and delete some of the unnecessary outtakes right there. But you heard the music come on and automatically you're like, oh, things are wrapping up. So that is what goes into the editing process. Now getting it all fine-tuned and ready to upload to the my Simplecast dashboard and getting that RSS feed, and then going up and putting it onto my webpage. Oh, that is another stage. So we will pivot over there. All right, so now we are in my Simplecast dashboard, and we're under episode details, where we're going to go through the process of adding a new episode to the dashboard. So first off, you would want to go drag and drop an audio file. So I am going to go up, and let's see, I just did, well, here we could do Kevin Reese. This is the edited final version. This has already been posted and broadcasted, but just to go through the process and demonstrate with you, we will start with this. So right now it is uploading. So of course it's gotta be completely uploaded. So I'll be back in a moment. All right, so now my audio file is now fully uploaded. My title, I can go in and put in, oh gosh, this was episode 71. Kevin Reese Sr. And after you go about and you save your draft, it is going to remember your URL. So it's really important that the title and everything that you have, it stays the same, because if this changes, if your title changes at all, it changes your episode URL, and that messes with things profusely. So you have this all uploaded, then you have your episode summary and your notes and contributions and all of this information, and you're going, wait a minute. Well, I also use my transcripts. So I go and I select a new browser and I type in Scribie. So Scribie, Scribie. And here, this is where I upload my audio, and I get my transcripts, and it's a couple of bucks, but I also have to go in and I have to do a lot of editing because it doesn't convert over exactly. If it was a manual upload, and that could take several days, because that is a real person typing out what was spoken, versus an auto, it's just the computer listening and transcribing everything. And there I am able to upload, or I'm able to, let's see, here is my interior design lesson lap book. So this was episode 72 that was released here, and I'll pull it over. And so this is what ends up happening. So here you see at what point I started recording. So at the 23-second mark, I say, hi, and welcome back to the Connect FCS Ed podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and so forth. And then here I say Chelsea Fideas, but it comes out as Chelsea Fides. So this is where I have to go in and I have to make those edits. So I have to use really good judgment and pull that information out. And I just kind of go through all of the notes and kind of pull out like the major highlights, and then put it into my show notes, and I'll put it in there. So here I'm going to. So now I am back in Simplecast again, but now I'm on an episode that was already released. So here we're just going to look at episode 72, PBL and FCS for interior design and more. So where it says episode summary, this is the summary of what I'm going to be talking about for this episode. Just a really quick overview. The episode notes. So this is from that Scribie, that draft of my transcripts of what I talked about. I was able to pull out nuggets, and then I indicate exactly where I talk about it. So at 31 seconds into the conversation, this is when I started talking about that particular section. And that is all for the episode notes. And it scrolls down. I have a couple of bullet points. And then at the 9-minute mark, 9 minutes, 4 seconds, I talk about my students are also lacking on their digital interactive notebooks and so forth. And of course, how you can connect with me. and when does it air. So these are really important transcriptions that not a lot of podcasters do. I do it because my honest hope is that I will write a book. I hope. That's a goal of mine. So eventually, when life gets not so chaotic, I'm hoping to kind of refocus and figure out how to take all my podcast learnings and all of these amazing episode interviews that I've had and put it into writing. And because of these transcriptions, it really truly helps me where I'm able to kind of look back and say, oh, this is what we were talking about. So there's that. Then you have all of that information. And now we go over to my website. So we will go to the Connect FCS Ed. Now you are in the admin side of my website. So here I'm going to go and I'm going to say edit page. Maybe it's thinking. And oh, I don't want that. I'm going to go back to pages and I'm going to add new. Oh, I did it wrong again. Pages, I'm going to hit podcast. It's being finicky right now. So now you have document and block. Okay, so I'm going to use standard. I'm going to be for builder. And I don't know why all of a sudden it's being, normally it doesn't look like this. No. Let's go back. I'm gonna add new. All right, here we go. So I'm going to add my title. So I'm going to copy exactly what I put the title as in Simplecast. And then I'm able to add, and I could add paragraphs, my custom HTML. And from Simplecast, that is this information. This is what I'm needing. Or my web player. I copy this embed code and I put it in for custom HTML and I copy it over. And now that web player that you would typically see, that we did see actually on, let's go. Is it going to bring me up to my, so here, that web player is right here. That is what transfers over and what it uploads as. And then I would just kind of go through the motions of adding paragraphs and copying word for word this transcription over on the sidebar. I would just add it, copy, and I would add paragraph and add it. Boom, done. So if we went into view all episodes from that, you would see those transcriptions. So you see my web player, the first block of transcriptions, the second block of transcriptions, everything is being copied word for word out of these bullet points and being copied and uploaded over here. So this it's a couple of hour process, no joke. So now that you have kind of that basic understanding, I'm just going to close all of this stuff out. I'm going to say cancel because I don't want to keep any of this information. And you see Scribby, how that is used. YouTube and my Simplecast dashboard. All right, so now we are going to come back, and that is the end of software. Now let's talk about your show, your podcast. I want you to think about, do you have a story that you can share? Well, we all have something valuable to share. We all have stories within us. Think about how you have grown from the first day you've stepped foot into your classroom to where you are now. You have stories, you have content. So your show, your podcast, of course, you have to come up with a title. Do you have a catchy title? There are so many various of genres of podcasts out there. There's true crime podcasts, which that's a huge hit, along with educational podcasts, and even hot mess mom podcasts, which those are always so much fun to listen to, and just hearing the realism that's taking place right there. And then your name, as the presenter. So for me, hi, welcome back to the Connect FCS Ed podcast. I am your host, Barbara Scully. Welcome. There, I just said my title and who I am introducing myself. Objectives. As a teacher, we know objectives. It's what we have on our smart boards or our whiteboards. Wherever we have our objectives laid out. Well, it's the same thing here in your podcast. You need to have your objectives out and ready. What is the purpose of your podcast? For me, I want to celebrate and share what we as FCS teachers are doing. I want professional development. I want to bring experts who would not be able to come to our workshops or our conferences. I want them to come onto this podcast so that they can reach you, my audience. We have so much to learn. Then understand, who is your intended audience? My audience are you, FCS teachers, CTE teachers. And then show topics. What are your show topics going to be about? For me, my show topics they change daily or weekly, depending on the episode. Recently, we had award-winning Kevin Reese Sr. from North Carolina. The most recent episode is PBL and FCS for interior design and more. It all depends on what the topic is. Then you need to think about your desired actions. So what are your 3 top actions you would want your visitor to take when they come to your show's website? For me, on my website, as soon as somebody comes to it, there is a connect button. Let's connect, meaning that I want you to send me an email asking me if we can meet or we could schedule something. Or I want you to go to podcasts and I want you to look up the various episodes that I've had and choose something to look at. So goals, what are your goals for the next year? Do you have something that you want to sell? For me and for my website, I don't sell anything. I give away lesson plans. I give away advice and professional development. As of right now, I would love to bring on merchandise. Have I gotten there? No, but it is something that I am currently thinking about, and I have been thinking about for a long time. But again, I am a one-person show, so I have to sleep also, and I have a family. Then we have competitors. list out your competitors, do your research. I have the Kentucky State FCS Extension. They're a competitor, but they're a different kind of competitor. They have a podcast that I listen to, and I think it is very valuable, and I think you should check it out as well. And it's called Just Facts, just FACS. It's a great podcast with very insightful, quick episodes, and it's geared mostly for consumer. So it's really good information. Check it out. But then with your competitors, describe how you compare and how you're different and how you're similar in the following areas. Domains and URLs. Do you have a website, and hashtags do you use? My hashtag is hashtag FCS podcast, hashtag FCS storytelling, hashtag PD Bytes for FCS, and there's a couple others. And then finally, social networks. Do you currently use social networks? If so, you need to incorporate those into when planning out a podcast. Finally, your professional organizations. I can't stress this enough. Get involved. For me, these are all the various affiliations that and professional associations that I am involved with, and it has only made me that much better and have a stronger voice when it comes to family and consumer sciences education. So as FCS educators, we are always pushing ourselves to be innovative and stay current with professional trends. This includes family and community action issues that emphasize the importance of encouraging individuals to become active in shaping our communities. Being part of a professional and family consumer sciences FCS organization, you are able to network and gain opportunities that will help build your credibility, which could allow you to take on various types of leadership roles. So here are 10 benefits of joining professional associations. 1, continued education. There are always new and emerging technological tools being released to make jobs easier. Events and trainings hosted by these organizations provide continued education that will help you stay updated on virtually everything happening in the world. Job prospects. Many professional organizations offer career resources to help members break into the job market or find a new position. Being a member of one of these organizations can help you get a foot in the door. Mentoring programs. One of the greatest benefits of joining a professional organization is the opportunity it likely provides to either be a mentor or find one. Mentorship offers the ability to learn from the industry from someone who has been working in it for years. Or you can give back by sharing your expertise with someone new to the field. These authentic mentoring relationships beat paying money to be some proclaimed expert any day. Networking opportunities. Professional associations usually offer numerous events throughout the year that allow professionals to network with their peers, including local events and annual conferences. Many of these conferences are intended as a way for members to connect with local and national leaders within the educational industry to expand their professional networks. Access to resources. Another benefit to membership in a professional association is the access you get to newsletters, magazines, and other publications that can offer helpful information about FCS education and industry. Such resources may also provide news about upcoming events, conferences, meetings, and even career opportunities not publicized elsewhere. Another benefit would be a new perspective. As professional FCS educators are now often extremely busy and can get stuck in their own little bubbles, we are no longer in a silo. We have a community. So being around other industry professionals with different viewpoints will expose you to new ideas and outlooks. This can have a very positive effect, not only on your personal growth and development, but impact the overall success of your local community advisory as well. Professional development. Professional development opportunities from an association are intended for your personal and professional improvement, even if it doesn't benefit you right away. Name and visibility. It's another great way to increase your own visibility as well as that of your employer, your district, your state. This increased visibility can be essential when trying to enhance your own professional brand, especially in the beginning of your career, and can help you grow. Certifications. For those working on certifications, another benefit of membership is a chance to enroll and in a review course that could help you prepare for and ultimately pass the certification exam. Such review courses are typically offered in partnerships with educational institutions hosting the review, so you're more likely to be adequately prepared. And finally, time to recharge. Late nights and weekends spent at school are common for educators, but being a member of professional community will get you out of school to connect with other like-minded professionals who likely share at least some of the same interests. After all, you chose to work in the educational industry, right? So now I need you to take the time to connect with others who have made the same decision and are facing the same experiences. Here you can follow and or contact me to be part of one of your conferences or workshops, and also my social media guide as for how you can connect with me always. Please connect with me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is under my professional name as Barbara J. Scully. And of course, you can always find me on my website. Here's my quick little biography for how I am putting myself out there for organizations to connect with me and see what topics I can possibly chat about. So how you can connect with me, interview topics and titles.
Thank you for joining me today at Connect FCS Ed. In this podcast, we boldly celebrate families and careers by providing inspiration, support, and resources for teachers, students, and families. My mission is to get this out in front of as many people as possible to help educate and inform the community that home economics is alive and well. Be sure to visit me at fcspodcast.com to help spread the word that family and consumer science is today's home economics.
Thank you so much for joining me in today's presentation. I hope you learned a lot. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out and connect with me. I am your host, Barbara Scully.
And thank you so much for joining. Let's continue leading the way with student success with FCS.